Hey everyone, this is Rousador's Pokemon Shenanigans, and welcome to my 50 subscriber special. We've got a fun 3-for-1 deal featuring the legendary birds here in the OG Gen 1, but not Red Blue OG. Yellow is generally a much tougher game, so I'm curious to see how fast these three can clear the game. As you can see, we're leading off with Articuno going off of the whole uno, dos, tres part of their names. And this isn't invasive species. I don't have max DVs for these three. I just end up using the first one I get for each. And I think that'll be alright, since, well, they're the legendary birds. And for Articuno, it starts off with an incredible move, a real sign of the times, really. Now, Peck isn't anything special. I mean, we get the same type from it, and it can help us with conserving power points for fighting early bugs and, like, the Mankey trainer on Nugget Bridge. But Ice Beam, 95 base power, we get the same type due to being Ice Flying, and since the game isn't built around the player having any ice moves this early, you can probably imagine that Articuno is absolutely gonna bulldoze the early game. Not just because of the high damage output, but in Gen 1 there are very few trainers who resist ice moves throughout the course of the entire game. And here in Generation 1, Fire does not resist ice. That makes me a bit more hopeful when we fight Blaine. But as far as early game trainers go, there's Misty with her 2 water types out of the relevant trainers, and I think she's the only one up until Rock Tunnel. We'll get Agility too for some good old badge boosts, but that's not until much later. Also, Blizzard has 90 accuracy in this generation, so that's pretty sweet. Yeah, I'd say we're stacked. As is standard for legendaries, Articuno's stat allocation is excellent. Since special is offense and defense, Articuno gets a base of 125 in both. That is awesome. Of the 3 bird bros, Articuno is the slowest, but base 85 is still fine. One thing that makes Articuno unique among the bird bro trio is that it's the only one that gets an offensive move that's not of its type. In Articuno's case, it can learn Water Gun and Bubble Beam. Now, because this is a race to the finish, good old Smash Bros. Melee, we will be grabbing TM12 to conserve power points against Hikers. And I'm also really liking Swift. It's not an amazing move, but I prefer this over something like Takedown or Double Edge due to Gen 1's recoil mechanics, which are absolutely brutal. 60 base power, and it bypasses accuracy and evasion checks, so to me, it's better and safer than taking back all that recoil. Plus, Double Edge has base 100 power in Generation 1, so not really worth it. Hyper Beam is locked behind the game corner, and you can only convert 50 coins at a time, so yeah, probably not going to do it. Alright, give me a minute. Gotta cover the exciting fight that is Brock versus Articuno. Now, I say that in jest as we one-shot Geodude with Ice Beam, but it turns out that Onix is actually faster than us, so if he spammed Bind, never missed, and crit us, we theoretically could have lost, but we didn't. Man, I gotta tell you, it's so weird looking at the Gen 1 TM list and seeing stuff like Sky Attack and useless Razor Wind on the TM list. Going as fast as possible actually helps us out in another way too, because defeating the rival in the first fight and skipping the optional one will result in him having a Flareon from Silphco onward. And yeah, sure, Jolteon would be super effective too, with Thunder, but we're avoiding extra battles, and we still have a super effective starter against us, so I'm digging that. Now, I know that it can for sure in Red and Blue. Maybe I'll run Articuno and, show that off, because it'd be fun. But since the other teams are all very different, minus the very menial differences in Brock and Misty's teams, Articuno also being in the slow level up group, well, maybe something will come along and surprise us. And now here in Cerulean, we're going to go for the rival first, but I want to go ahead and deposit some items because the knapsack here in Generation 1, very limited, not a big deal though. Basically, anytime we no longer need a key item, I'll take a couple extra seconds and deposit it, because I like having my inventory organized. Not only that, but you can hold a very limited amount of items in the knapsack in Generation 1, so the less items we have that are just taking up space, the better for us. Now, speaking of fights that are different in this game, our rival leads off with a very different team than he does in Red and Blue. And, I mean, it's not going to make a difference for Articuno because, well, you're going to see on screen, we're going to just sweep everything. Hard to say which team is tougher, though, because on one end he has Pidgeotto in Red and Blue, but on the other hand, he has Abra who can't fight back at all. I was surprised to see Eevee survive, but, I mean, we were never in any danger. So, after battling the minimum amount of trainers, the Nugget Bridge trainers, the Rocket, the usual misfits, we're going to try and take on Misty. We're going to have to be careful here, though, because their moves are not super effective against us, but we don't resist them. But they resist Ice Beam, Misty leads off with Staryu, and despite resisting it, I'm thinking Ice Beam is the play still. We deal about half damage, and Misty goes for an X defend. Perfect. The second Ice Beam takes it out. Now, not only is Starmie a much tougher Pokemon, but you'll see because of that X defend, we are slower, and also love that critical hit. Don't forget in Gen 1, items do not have priority if the enemy trainers are using them. It will take a few shots, but when Starmie finally decides to attack us, it does not that much. We're at 41 health by the time we win this fight. We could have very easily lost that fight, but, you know, Generation 1 AI. Okay, next up, we're gonna go cruising on the SSN. We don't have to battle any trainers on here, besides the rival, of course. The fact I love, by the way. Articuno making a really, really good time. Now, I'm sure that won't surprise you in any way, shape, or form once I pull it up here in a sec, but that doesn't make it any less awesome. Now, as I grab a couple of extra items, that trainer right there is mandatory in Fire Red Leaf Green. I always forget that. By forget that, I mean you can skip that trainer here in Yellow, Red, and Blue. Unfortunately, no berries in the trash can for us, but that Great Ball will help us out a little bit later. It's a shame that Articuno can't learn Body Slam, but I don't think I'd even go for it if it could, because, well, that would be an extra battle. We're trying to go as fast as possible here. Race to the finish. 54 minutes before Rival 3. Not bad at all. Now, here in Yellow, this team, the only difference between this and the previous one here is that his team is a little bit higher. For sure, Rival 3 on the SSN and Red and Blue is harder. When Rattata comes out, we'll go ahead and switch to Peck because I didn't want to heal. I want to save our Ether and our healing before we fight Lieutenant Surge. Ice Beam, of course, one-shot Sandshrew and leaves Eevee with just a slither. But again, it really doesn't matter. Now, as we make our way to Lieutenant Surge, something did surprise me. Also, real quick, another reason why I love playing on Yellow is because we have Charmander for Cut Strength and Dig and Squirtle for Surf. Anyway, I was prepared to save and reset a bunch of times, but we got the trash can puzzle on the first try. I never talk about the trash can puzzle. And just like the SSN, no required trainers outside of the boss fight here. And thanks to Surge's outright refusal to have Raichu use Thunderbolt, we win after a couple of Ice Beams. Gotta say, I was expecting this to take more than one try as well. Well, we can now use Fly outside of battle. That's sweet. You know, it's a real good thing that Surge doesn't have quote-unquote good AI here in this game, because otherwise we would have gotten toasted unless we got a lucky freeze or something. Now here's a fun little trick I missed from the good old OG days. Going to Diglett Cave and using Dig to go back to Cerulean City because it's the last Poke Center that we used. I know in Red and Blue you can dig from the fan club guy's house. I don't think you can in Yellow. I tried and wasn't able to do it. Maybe there's a tile I didn't get right or something. Either way, Diglett Cave works just fine. And like we talked about before, a moment's reprieve here. After buying some repels, we can go back to the Poke Center and deposit the SS ticket because we no longer need it. Yeah, key items back in the day you could deposit, which is no longer the case. That hasn't been the case for quite a while. I think Gen 2 is when they started doing that. I know for a fact it's in Gen 3, I just forget which game that started in. And obviously, Rock Tunnel isn't a problem at all. Yeah, there were Slowpoke who resisted Ice Beam, but if that's the worst we had to worry about, no, we were fine. So the first thing we're gonna do is go to the Lighthouse, and in Gen 3, where the girl gives you a return, in Generation 1, she gives you the TM for Swift, TM39. It's not an amazing move, but the fact that it bypasses accuracy and evasion modifiers makes it pretty good in my opinion. And if nothing else, we have something decent for anything that has high special and low defense. Now, the last thing I want to do is catch a flying Pokemon so that I can teach it Fly. And yeah, I know Articuno can learn Fly. You get the same type from it and everything. But that said, Fly itself still isn't great in Gen 1. 70 base power, and yeah, again, same type. But if we want to get rid of Fly, we can't get rid of it. So that might be suboptimal, not sure yet, but I'm going to take that risk. And really, 2 Pecks will do the same damage as 1 Fly anyway, just we won't be invulnerable for 1 turn. And thanks to us defeating Lieutenant Surge, we can use Fly outside of battle and travel as we please. With the Fly HM in our possession, we're going to start bulldozing through content here in Celadon City. And I'm thinking first things first, we're going to go to the Rocket Game Corner and fight Giovanni. But before we battle him, we'll go ahead and grab the Iron as well, because we can sell that for a bit of money. Thankfully, in this game, we can get Ice Beam just by giving some kid freshwater on the top of Celadon Department. And we're just under sub 90 minutes before Giovanni. That's pretty sweet. We'll go ahead and pop a potion, because obviously we're allowed to heal outside of battle. Now, I haven't taught Swift just yet. I figure Water Gun will get one last hurrah. Case in point here, Water Gun one-shots Onyx. We'll go ahead and switch to Bubble Beam to take out Rhyhorn. Persian may be faster than us, but with its swift Wonder Twin attack of Guard Spec and Screech, I can't imagine why we two-shot it with Ice Beam without taking any damage. Alright, with Giovanni down, we're gonna go ahead and make our way over to Erica. We are super effective against her entire team, and I believe faster as well. Only have to fight this random trainer here before we encounter Erica herself. And Tangela turns out to be a two-shot with Ice Beam, very interesting. And we leveled up just in time because out comes Weepinbell, and down goes Weepinbell due to a critical Ice Beam. Last is Gloom, but it's a one-shot without a crit. Looking good, let's head on over to Lavender Tower and take out our rival. Our rival leads off with Firo, and unsurprisingly gets one shot by Ice Beam. Next up is Magnemite, who does have a super effective move, but we are faster, and we one-shot it. Next is Shelter, and... oh wow, we one-shot it. I wasn't expecting that. Well, that thing's gonna be a Cloyster next time, so we'll have to think about that one. Last but not least, both Sandshrew and Eevee are one-shots with Ice Beam. This is the last time our rival's gonna be easy because he's gonna have a fully evolved team at Silphco. So you'll see that we're inside of Koga's gym. Now, we're not gonna battle him just yet. There's a bit of method to the madness here because we're trying to go off minimum battles for as long as we possibly can. I'm thinking we go to Fuchsia, take out the trainers we're required to fight in Koga's gym. Once we defeat them, we can then go to Silphco, where there's an Arbok trainer we have to beat. Now, the jugglers in Koga's gym are kind of annoying because they have very high special. And I mean, thankfully, we do as well, but these guys take quite a few hits to put down. I'm kind of juggling in my head who I should fight first between Koga and the Silphco rival. Koga's team is completely different in yellow than it is from red and blue. Overall, I'd argue that it's a bit better. I mean, Weezing and Muck are better than a bunch of Venonats, but a level 50 Venomoth is better than anything he has in red and blue. As for our rival, we're going to start seeing some fully evolved Pokemon here. We're going to have Sandslash, which I don't think is going to be very hard. Cloyster double resists Ice Beam. That could be a problem, but we're going to have to play that out. Thankfully, in Generation 1, there is no Steel typing, so Magneton, while that could still be a bit difficult because it's pretty strong, at least we don't have to worry about it resisting Ice Beam. He'll have a Kadabra, which is fast and crits quite a bit. And of course, he'll have his Evolution Flareon, which is super effective against us. I forget if it has Fire Spin or Flamethrower in this fight, but I guess time will tell. In the end, though, I decided to go try and fight the rival at Silphco because it's a lot closer to our level. And I mean, the Venonats I think would be easy, but the Venomoth would be really annoying between having Double Team, Toxic, Psychic, all that stuff that would be good for us, but isn't. And hey, 2 hours, 2 minutes, that's solid time. Now, the rival will lead off with Sandslash, and not too worried about it. We'll see how much damage Ice Beam does. Okay, all of it, very good. And we level up, that's cool. Next up is Cloyster, pretty worried about this. We'll go for Ice Beam, and that's a crit, but oh man. And I mean, even Bubble Beam, that single resisted, is doing next to nothing. Oh, and it has Clamp. Oh, this is worse than I thought. Now, Clamp can miss, and each individual hit isn't dealing that much damage to us. And it's funny because the retroactive potion there came in at a pretty bad time. Now, we do get past the Cloyster, and even with a critical hit, we don't one-shot Magneton. Okay, then. I'm going to try this just one more time because the AI for Cloyster isn't the smartest. It likes to go for Withdraw, so maybe we can take advantage of that. It'll still take a lot of hits to put down with Bubble Beam, but at least we have a bit of a strategy. Also, Supersonic can miss. It loves going for that as well, and Sandslash is always going to be free, so we don't care about that. It's actually kind of funny that Bubble Beam does that much damage to Cloyster. Its special's not that great. Anyway, it kept going for Withdraw for a couple of turns, and then we get hit by Supersonic. And I mean, you can see it on full display right here. Cloyster keeps going for Withdraw. It keeps trying Supersonic even though we're confused, which was pretty funny. He does smarten up, though, and does lock us into Clamp for a couple of turns, but Bubble Beam takes it out with 59 health remaining. Well, now we can test damage on Magneton without a crit. It's under half, and yeah, of course we get paralyzed. It's gonna be one of those fights, isn't it? Alright, we're gonna go to Koga and see how we do there. We should be able to win. I mean, the Venonats are still gonna be easy, even though they are way higher level than we are. But I think that in order to defeat Venomoth, we're gonna need a freeze or just get really lucky with critical hits. We've already dealt with the mandatory trainers inside of Koga's gym, so we could just make a beeline straight for them. So at most, we've wasted like a minute or two, not a big deal. So as we make our way to Koga and park ourselves right next to him, We'll go ahead and check our time real quick. We are clocking in at 2 hours, 3 minutes, so yeah, not really a big deal. In hindsight, I probably should have done a scouting battle to test out how we do against Koga, but hey, what time's better than the present? A Venonat's a one-shot with a crit. As for the second Venonat, we deal about 3/4, not bad. We get hit by Supersonic. On the first turn of Confusion, thankfully no special drop from Psychic, and he doubles up on Supersonic. That's the Koga we've all come to know and love. And hey, gotta say, so far so good. We haven't taken that much damage, all things considered. And you know what else I like? A critical hit Ice Beam on Venonat number 3. As Venomoth comes out, we trade Toxic and Ice Beam. Turn 2 goes for a double team. Thankfully, we do not miss with our follow-up. Koga ends up going for a completely useless X attack while we miss. One more chance, and there's Psychic. Yeah, no way. Honestly, though, I think victory is right around the corner. This shouldn't be that bad. Venomoth's gonna be a problem. But the other Venonat, I don't think so much, especially if we get to freeze one of them. That said, I believe this is going to be a lot easier said than done because we are very under-leveled, but because we're also a legendary Pokemon, our stats are still relatively competitive here. Oh, and you might be wondering why I give my Pokemon such different names. Well, usually it's an OC, whether it's mine or a friend's or whomever. And of course in the Pikachu run, my niece wanted that, so that's what I named the Pikachu after. And if it's not an OC, it's some kind of reference, like in the Squirtle run. You know, the thumbnail said Turtle Power, Mikey because I couldn't fit Michelangelo. Yeah, honestly, that's it. That's the reason. I just gonna pick names out of a hat and go with it. What can I say? I like giving Pokemon names. I also like Venonat missing and us two-shotting. We two-shot the second one, but not before taking Toxic. And yeah, we're still sped up very fast here, so we don't beat Venomoth here either. Again, much easier said than done, but after these attempts, I'm feeling pretty good, I gotta be honest. It seems that for the most part we can make it to Venomoth, it's just a matter of getting a bit lucky there. And you know, speaking of luck, turn 1 Ice Beam, we freeze the Venonat. If we had agility, I'd use one here to outspeed Venomoth. Okay, at Venonat 3 with 96 health. Ice Beam, Psychic, no special drop, follow up Ice Beam. Okay, we're at decent health for Venomoth. And not only do we crit Venomoth, but we freeze it solid. Oh, yeah. And now, I go for Peck just to be cheeky here, and it is stronger with same type and it being weak to it. I love it. We're in the second third of the game, and Peck still manages to be kind of awesome. Now we have to circle back to Rival 5, and even though we've only gained 1 level, and yeah, of course Sandslash doesn't matter, just like before, we are doing a bit more noticeable damage to Cloyster with Bubble Beam. Thankfully, Cloyster seems to forget what Pokemon battles are. Well, I said that too soon. Between Supersonic and Clamp, we're down to 70. Not too bad, though. We can finish it off with Swift, and hope we do a bit more damage to Magneton. And that level up did make a bit of a difference here. Case in point, we're now dealing about half with Ice Beam to Magneton. Still, though, that's a pretty bad damage range, and Magneton takes us out. And here's where I decided to abandon minimum battles, although I shouldn't have, but I'll get to that here in a sec. Now, I could have also used a bunch of rare candies, but I want to save those for as late as possible. I like saving them for the Elite Four unless we absolutely need them. And now, because we haven't battled any optional trainers, we can go ahead and get XP wherever, and the Fighting Dojo is a great place for it, as is Silphco. And as Cloyster comes out, check out the damage we're dealing with Bubble Beam. It's a lot more now. Yeah, Cloyster really loves spamming Withdrawal. It does go for Supersonic at one point and misses, thankfully. And we get a perfectly timed critical hit there. Very nice. Now, I don't think that we're going to one-shot Magneton, but we should deal well over half. Oh, or we can crit him and one-shot him. That's cool, too. Now, Kadabra, I'm a bit worried about. It does have Psybeam, and it does crit a lot. Okay. Now, don't forget in Gen 1, Fire does not resist Ice, so we're going to go for Ice Beam. Does great damage, and it's Fire Spin, and it misses. Okay, cool. Now, as we battle Jesse and James and Giovanni for the final time, not going to bother talking about either of them. I'm going to tell you why I should not have abandoned minimum battles, because I thought of this while I was editing, and kind of while I was playing as well. Like, when I was playing, I had an idea to teach Fly and then teach Toxic, and then go for strats with Toxic, Fly, apply Toxic, use Fly because it's a 2-turn attack where I'm in the air for the first turn. Cloyster would just rack up the damage, right? But then as I'm editing, I'm like, wait a second, I could have gotten Mimic, and I could have mimicked Clamp from Cloyster, and then done Toxic, Mimic, Clamp strats. They always say hindsight is 20/20, but man, it's like, I was too stubborn to teach Fly because, again, there's no move deleter, and I don't think Fly would be too useful outside of the rival's Cloyster, as we ourselves are primarily a special attacker. But thinking about Clamp, I was like, wait, Clamp stun locks, and then Toxic will keep on adding damage. Even if Cloyster hit us with Clamp, Toxic would still be racking in damage. Ah, man. Oh, well, you live and learn, they say. So let's go take out our frustrations on Sabrina, shall we? She leads off with a pretty useless Abra. It does hit us with Flash, and Swift is almost a one-shot. You see, the funny thing is that Flash is actually boosting our damage. And yes, I did fight one more trainer just to get us to 43. Well, this is pretty interesting. I know Sabrina gives Psywave as the TM in this game, but man, she must really love it because she could have beaten us there, but didn't. For Alakazam, I decided to risk an Ice Beam with that accuracy drop. We miss, unsurprisingly. And as if Sabrina heard my taunt, we get a really unfortunate critical hit from Psychic. That's fine, though. We can still very much win this fight. We have Swift to bypass accuracy checks at, worst case scenario. Now, this time, she uses an X defend on Abra, so we're going to switch to Peck, just to conserve power points, of course. Yep, still useful. As Kadabra comes out, Sabrina really doubling up on that X defend. Ice Beam does about half, and thankfully Kinesis misses on the follow-up turn. Then we see Recover, then we go for Swift. Oh boy, it's going to be one of those fights. And oh man, it's, every time we get her down low, she ends up going for Recover, which is smart. She can out-heal our damage. But I guess Sabrina gets tired of stalling us out and goes for Psywave, which she loves, with Kadabra's health being very low, so Swift finishes it off. As Alakazam comes out, we eat Psychic for over half our health, and Ice Beam does about a third to him. X Defend, Swift, Reflect, that lasts the whole battle in Gen 1, by the way. And, well, Psychic, I guess, is not that interesting to Sabrina because, man, she really has been loving Psywave this run, hasn't she? I'm not going to complain about that because that gives us the victory. We even finished her off with Peck. Gotta love it. Okay, we might have gotten a real cheesy Sabrina fight there, but there's no way that Blaine's going to be easy. I mean, we're Ice-type. His entire team has strong fire moves. I know Ninetales has Flamethrower. Arcanine has Fire Blast and Flamethrower, and I believe Rapidash has Fire Spin. Well, it starts off well with Ninetales getting frozen. I go for Peck just to be funny, and we get a critical hit, so we'll switch to Bubble Beam to conserve our Ice Beam power points. Well, that was awesome. So as Rapidash comes out, it's going for Takedown instead of Fire Spin. That's cool, and even cooler, we one-shot it with a crit. Last up is Arcanine, obviously is faster than we are. Flamethrower almost takes us out. Ice Beam does good damage, and it misses Takedown. That's a 15% chance. We get a critical Ice Beam. Wow, okay, that was, I'm not gonna say fluky, just super lucky and awesome on our behalf. Last is Giovanni. I don't think this is gonna be that hard as Articuno. Go ahead and drop in a save in front of the man here. We are at 3 hours and 17 minutes, so yeah, that grind didn't take off too much time. Now, Giovanni has a very different team here in yellow. It's actually very good. But unfortunately for the Doug trio whom he leads off with, he literally can't damage Articuno. We, on the other hand, can one-shot him with Ice Beam. Persian outspeeds and goes for Screech. It does connect, but we respond in kind with a critical Ice Beam. Next up is Nidoqueen, whom we outspeed, and of course we're gonna one-shot her. Not a surprise there. One-shotting her means we one-shot Nidoking. And even cooler, we level up right before Rhydon to 47. We're going to switch to Bubble Beam just in case. It is double super effective, so it actually is the stronger move here. And now, as you'll recall, we had a fair bit of trouble with our rival at Selfco. And unfortunately, my idea for that Toxic Mimic Clamp strategy only came to me after the run. So rest assured, I go into that fight without that mindset. But I do have an idea for the Cloyster that I was actually pretty proud of, but, well, I'm going to show you that here in a sec. We'll go ahead and get Sandslash out of the way. Now, you'll see that I haven't taught Mimic yet, because I just want to see how we match up. Execute going down in one hit, very nice. Also not surprising. And unsurprisingly, as Cloyster does come out, we're not dealing all that much damage with Bubble Beam. Still, though, we know that Cloyster has kind of derpy AI, so we can kind of play around with it a little bit. Oh, and we got a Gen 1 miss on Bubble Beam. That was awesome. And to add to the bad luck here, not only do we get hit by Clamp, but it crits, and it's a 5-turn. Oh, and on this next attempt here, I don't teach Mimic. I think I wanted to try again for some reason. You know, the literal definition of insanity is to keep trying the same thing, knowing that it's going to be in vain. So don't worry, I get slapped around in this attempt here. Not going to talk about it. But after this attempt, I'm like, you know what? I have Mimic. Let's teach it, because here's where my idea is going to come into play here. Yes, teaching Toxic and mimicking Clamp would be the play. But again, I'm pretty happy with this idea here. It's also fairly risky, must be said. Okay, so we're going to move past Sand Slash here, and out comes Execute, and here's where we're going to use Mimic. Now, why is that, you may ask? Well, my friends, Execute has Solar Beam. It is a 2-turn attack, but, I mean, Cloyster is not going to be able to survive one. Fortunately for us, Execute goes for Solar Beam instead of Stun Spore. Very happy with that. That's why it's risky. Now, unfortunately, as we go for Solar Beam, we get hit by Clamp, but it's only 2 turns, and Solar Beam, yeah, by Cloyster. That said, we are not out of the woods at all here, because Magneton loves Thunder Wave and does go for it, and then we get critically hit by Thunder Shock. Now, this shocked me, but we ended up defeating the Magneton. Kadabra brings us to 23 with Psybeam, but goes for Reflect, so we finish it off. But we're screwed because Flareon outspeeds us due to paralysis, and yeah. So while we have a way to take care of the Cloyster, Magneton has become the new problem here. And it's going to be even worse when we fight him as the champion, because Magneton there is going to have Thunderbolt. Also, as we're going through attempts here, I'm thinking about the Blaine fight and how lucky we got. And I'm kind of wondering if maybe we would have had to abandon minimum battles there, because, I mean, we would have been much lower leveled and just gotten destroyed by fire moves. Hard to say. But anyway, as usual, Sand Slash is just a punching bag at this point. I'm okay with that. Execute comes up. We're going to go for a Mimic. Grab Solar Beam. You know the drill there. Poison Powder, not the worst thing ever. Let's just hope that Cloyster doesn't hit us with Clamp. Well, as we charge Solar Beam, it goes for Supersonic, and thank goodness it misses. As Magneton comes out, Ice Beam doing great damage like usual. This time it goes straight for Thunder Shock. Oh, that's nice. Level up. Love it. Next up is Kadabra. We go for Ice Beam. Good damage, and it goes for Reflect. Good job there. Oh, we got decent health for Flareon. Are you kidding me right now? Oh, that's beautiful. Freeze on the Flareon. Well, after we taught Mimic and went with the Mimic Solar Beam strat, this did take 10 tries, so Ice Beam freezing, actually those odds add up pretty well. Alright, now it's time to hit up the league and boot out the Elite Four, boot out our rival as champion, and get Articuno into the Hall of Fame. And now here's what we've been saving all of our rare candies for. So we no longer need our assistant Pokemon, our good old HM buddies who have helped our Articuno get all the way to this point. And now, one thing that I've been doing periodically throughout this run is anytime I accumulate a decent amount of money, I'll go to the shop and sell it on, and I would buy some Carbos for Articuno to help out with its speed. I think its special attack is fine as is. Speed is the one stat of Articuno I've been wanting to improve throughout the course of the entire run. So that's what I chose to focus on. So if I ever got anything like nuggets, proteins, iron, and TMs that we don't need, you just sell them, buy the Carbos in bulk, and voila. And speaking of speed, let's go ahead and save up since we're fully prepared and ready to go. After we drop that wonderful save, we can go ahead and check our time here. We are at 3 hours and 35 minutes. That's awesome. Well, I do run a very small errand, so 3:39, but still, sub 4 hours, very good. So we'll go ahead and pop our rare candies. We're not going to learn Blizzard via level up. I have TM14 because we are going to teach it later, I'm thinking. Not right now, though. Not going to need it. We are going to learn Agility, however, because we can take advantage of some good old badge boosting. And not only that, but Agility is going to be pretty useful because I know Jinx is very fast. It might outspeed us. Alright, at level 55, I think we're going to be strong enough to take a shot. Lorelei is going to be kind of annoying. I don't know if she's going to be hard, but definitely annoying. We start with Agility. We get hit by Bubble Beam for pretty weak damage. Agility number 2. We do get a speed drop, which does also badge boost us. That's pretty sweet, actually. And now, because we've used Agilities, we have reapplied the 12.5% boost to our attack, and you can really see it on full display here. Also, that crit on Dugong was pretty nice. Even better, it finishes itself off with Takedown. Look how little damage we took. But for Cloyster, that leaves us with Swift and double-resisted Ice Beam. Gotta say, that Spike Cannon is not doing us a lot of favors here. Of course, it brings us down to super low health. So that wasn't a great first try. I mean, I'm not too surprised by that because we don't have anything good for Cloyster. And I mean, we would if I had thought of the Toxic Mimic Clamp strategy, but I digress. Yeah, a little salty about that, not gonna lie. But in this attempt here, Dugong spams rest so much despite being at full health that we're able to set up a bunch of agilities, even an extra one because of a Bubble Beam speed drop. And there's another one. I don't mind the critical hit either. Okay, Swift is doing some pretty sweet damage with those boosts. I mean, holy crap. Okay, so we can test out Ice Beam on Cloyster here. Still going to be the better play, I think. Well, that critical hit was cool. I want to see how much a regular one does. All of the health? Okay. And, well, now that we made it to Slowbro, let's put Mimic to real use here and Mimic Amnesia. In Generation 1, don't forget Special is a combined stat. So it's like using Calm Mind twice in one turn, and thanks to this fun little trick, Lorelei is about to become insignificant, unless we get critical hits. I say that because critical hits don't take those boosts into account. I love Generation 1, man. I mean, Lapras was still a little bit scary. That didn't do much damage, even with all of our boosts. All things considered, though, we'd have to have gotten pretty unlucky to lose that fight. Next up is Bruno, and his two Onix have Rock Slides, so if they were faster than us, that would be scary, but that isn't so. Now, obviously the Onix are a one-shot, but unfortunately in Generation 1, the Hitmons have terrible special, so both Hitmonchan and Hitmonlee are very easy to one-shot with Ice Beam. And of course we know that Onix number 2 will be a one-shot. Not sure about Machamp, though. Doesn't have amazing special, but has the best special score on this team. Case in point, we don't one-shot it. I mean, it can't do anything to us, but that is kind of interesting. Next up is Agatha, and she has the potential to be annoying, but her first Gengar with Mimic is actually pretty great. Because, in Red and Blue, she has really annoying status moves like Hypnosis and Confuse, right? Just level up crap, right? Well, her first Gengar here in Yellow has a very different moveset. It does still have Confuse Ray, but it also has Substitute, Lick, and Mega Drain. So, even though we get paralyzed off of Lick, we do have Agility, which will not only badge boost us, but it'll actually help out with our little paralysis speed drop problem. We do lose a couple of turns to paralysis, but as we're continuing to set up our agilities to outspeed something, she swaps out. A Golbat was an interesting choice. As Gengar comes back out, we lose our first turn to paralysis, not the second one though. She swaps into Haunter, much weaker than Gengar, so we're able to one-shot it. Back out comes the Wooden Gengar, but yeah, no way is it surviving Ice Beam. Now, this Arbok is the reason why you don't want to be paralyzed, because Arbok here has Wrath, and thankfully with Agility we're able to outspeed it, so it wouldn't matter too much. Very helpful to be behind the Substitute. Gengar 2 does break our Substitute, but thankfully we don't lose either turn to paralysis, so we're able to finish off the last Gengar and defeat Agatha. And next up is Lance. Gotta say, besides the Gyarados, I'm not that concerned about this fight because we're super effective against 4 of the 5 team members, double super effective against his ace. That said, his Gyarados has some really strong attacks. So on turn 1, we trade Ice Beam and Hydro Pump. We take a lot less damage than I thought we'd take. You see me hesitating for a sec, I'm like, oh yeah, Aerodactyl, better go for Agility. Gyarados does connect with another Hydro Pump, but doesn't matter. And honestly, I mean, this fight's over. Both Dragonair are very easy to take out, although the first one could have been a threat if we weren't able to one-shot it because it does know Thunderbolt and Thunder Wave. Thanks to Agility, we outspeed Aerodactyl and one-shot it. Last up is Dragonite, but, I mean, it can't do anything to us because we're faster and we deal 4 times damage with same type attack bonus Ice Beam. I know it doesn't exist, but Powder Snow probably would have done the job there. Okay, let's heal up, restore our power points. We'll use one more rare candy just to make sure that we have a bit more firepower going into the fight here. Now, our rival has been pretty hard ever since Silphco. But with this team here, maybe there's something else we can mimic, because I know that Executor doesn't have Solar Beam anymore. And here I'm thinking, alright, let's mimic Earthquake. It's perfectly safe to mimic, and we can one-shot Sand Slash with Ice Beam. I do want a strong physical move for Alakazam. And turns out that without Agility, he does outspeed us, does a bit of damage with Psychic. Earthquake does about 3/4. We get hit by Kinesis, but we do connect with Earthquake, so that's 2 down. And against the Coconut Tree, Ice Beam is not a one-shot. That might also be a poor damage range, not sure. Next up is Magneton. We have Earthquake, and turns out that Earthquake is not a one-shot, unfortunately, and Thunderbolt does a lot of damage. A Critical Swift takes it out. And that Earthquake on Cloyster, yeah, this isn't gonna work. Unfortunately, we don't attack again as Clamp finishes us off. Now, fortunately for us, the other members of the Elite Four are pretty easy. I mean, Lorelei is a little hit or miss, but for the most part, once we make it to Slowbro, the fight is pretty much good to go because Amnesia is just amazing like that. I still think that Earthquake is the move, but we're gonna have to set up some agilities on Sandslash, which should be relatively safe, because, I mean, it can't hit us with Earthquake, which is by far its best attack, but it does know Slash, and it gets critical hits a lot with it. And it knows Poison Sting, which doesn't deal a whole lot of damage at this stage in the game, but getting poisoned in a solo challenge, especially against the champion. Now, on one hand, if we're able to one-shot a majority of the team, because we're definitely going to be teaching Blizzard when we make it to the champion next, then poison wouldn't necessarily be the worst thing ever, because in Generation 1, you only take poison damage if you don't KO a Pokemon, so if I KO Sandslash after it hits me with Poison Sting, I'm not taking poison damage on the next turn. You know, of course, following him up with an Alakazam makes that kind of a moot point because it has extremely high special, and with the agility setups, we'll be able to outspeed Alakazam, but it's just a matter of being able to take it down in a single hit. It also has Kinesis, which is extremely annoying. The funny thing about Kinesis, too, is that because it drops our accuracy, that also does technically trigger the badge boosts, but it's not really worth it in my opinion, because all of those extra stats don't amount to much if you can't hit something. Still, though, with a minor adjustment to our strategy, again, teaching Blizzard for sure, and in other generations, that might not be worth the risk, but again, in Generation 1, it has 90 accuracy, that's awesome. You know, in the Japanese version, it has a 30% chance to freeze, and getting frozen in Gen 1 means you can never unthaw unless you use something like a full restore or a full heal. Man, game design for Pokemon was wild back in the day. But yeah, we match up excellent against Bruno. Agatha's not a problem because we can just mimic Substitute and block out Confuse Ray, which makes her a lot easier. Although it's kind of funny that you can still get put to sleep behind a Substitute in Generation 1, even though it's supposed to block status effects. I thought that was kind of funny. And of course, Lance, you get past Gyarados, after setting up one agility to outspeed Aerodactyl, you win. But hey, that's enough rambling. We're back at the champion now, so let's try out this little strategy, shall we? Now, we're gonna have to set up some agilities, and we really are at the mercy of Sandslash. Case in point, Slash, not a great start. After that, I'm like, you know what, not taking the chance. Gonna go and use Blizzard, take out the Sandslash. And it turns out that I am, in fact, rewarded for my boldness with a critical Blizzard on Alakazam. Oh, and we leveled up off of Sandslash, so the extra badge boosts don't apply here. That said, one-shotting Executor's nice. That just might be a problem, however, because Magneton, well, we don't one-shot it with Blizzard, and it does tremendous damage with Thunderbolt, and it paralyzes us. So you've seen that we can get to the champion pretty easily. On our next attempt, we do so. Not gonna forget the rare candy this time. We'll pop that rare candy not just for a bit of extra firepower, but because if we level up, the badge boosts reset, the glitchy ones do anyway, and we don't want that for this fight. We got Blizzard to reteach, we got power point ups to give to Blizzard, just in case we miss. 10% chance to miss, very likely that we miss at least one. Also, we'll go ahead and take a look at our stats before we go ahead and start this final fight again. 183 special's pretty good, and the 134 speed, thank you Carbos, I don't think we would have gotten that high without it. Okay, so no matter what, we have to set up on Sandslash. Alakazam, way too dangerous. Oh, there's a good chance that we won't get poisoned either from Poison Sting. Agility number 1, Slash crits for 60 damage. Yeah, I get worried again and say screw it, so out to Alakazam. Well, we do not one-shot it with Blizzard, unsurprisingly. We get hit by Kinesis, but that will give us a bit of attack too, so we'll go for Swift. And as we're battling Executor, I'm like, oh man, we didn't even mimic Earthquake. I definitely went too fast, but at least we're able to one-shot it after missing a couple of Blizzards. Yeah, definitely regretting not setting up all of those agilities. My concern was, man, if I get hit by Slash 3 times, I'm not going to be strong enough to withstand the rest of the fight here. And yeah, Blizzard doesn't do much to Cloyster, not surprising since it double resists, but yeah. Now, on the bright side, we are able to get to the champion pretty much every time now. Assuming we don't get very unlucky against Lorelei, beating her, we get straight by Bruno, straight by Agatha, straight by Lance. The same strategy, the same movesets, they work every time. But, I really need to just suck up the fact that I'm gonna take a fair bit of damage from Sand Slash. Like, I've been talking about the strategy for it before, where, like, Fury Swipes can miss, Poison Sting doesn't deal much damage, also very low chance it poisons, and Earthquake can't hit us. Yeah, that was going through my head during my earlier attempts against the champion, but every time I saw Slash go off, I would just kind of panic and be like, nope, we're just gonna hope for the best here, and hoping for the best has resulted in us losing. The extra power that we gained from those badge boosts really helps, and we're gonna have to take advantage of that to win this fight. Starts off much different this time. Agility, Poison Sting, no poison. You see me go for Blizzard, I'm like, nope, gotta go with Agility. Goes for Poison Sting, no poison again. On our third Agility, we eat Fury Swipes. That's a 3-hitter, no problem. Gonna go for Blizzard. Now, as Alakazam comes up, Blizzard is unfortunately not a one-shot, but it goes for Recover, and hear me out. We can finish off Alakazam. It might go for Kinesis, but I think we should mimic Recover. Psychic does very little damage. Thankfully, no special drop. We don't miss Blizzard, down goes Alakazam. Now, with our badge boost, there's no way we're not one-shotting Executor, so there we go. Now, check this out. You see the badge boost in action here. Blizzard against Magneton is a one-shot, no crit. That's the scariest Pokemon down. Blizzard does about, 40% to Cloyster? Honestly, not bad. Now, Clamp does last for a hot minute and does a fair bit of damage, but unfortunately, all undone with Recover. We go for Blizzard, if we hit one more time, we should finish it off. We eat Spike Cannon for a little bit of damage, nothing too scary. Ooh, let's switch to Swift. We're gonna have to save Blizzard for Flareon. Well, that risk paid off. As Flareon comes out, we do outspeed, go for Blizzard. Does really awesome damage, almost a one-shot. Flareon goes for Flamethrower. Oh, not bad, 80 damage. We would have survived a critical hit too, sweet. So we'll switch over to Swift and finish off the challenge as Articuno. Oh, and this is not exclusive to invasive species. Anytime I'm keeping score for a Pokemon, if they level up off the last Pokemon of the game, in this case, Articuno hitting 60 off of Flareon, I do not count it because the level up contributes nothing to the run. The run's over, so, like, who cares? But that's only off of the final Pokemon, so if we leveled up off of Cloyster and then fought Flareon, I would count it. But since we leveled up off the final Pokemon of the game, nah. That run as Articuno was a lot of fun. I went on my rant about Toxic Mimic Clamp already. Maybe I'll rerun Articuno someday just to see if that works. Anyway, we're level 60 minus 1. That's level 59. What about that time, though? Because that champion fight took a hot minute. And that was an unintentionally well set up punchline. We are 1 minute under subbing 4 hours. That's awesome. Now it's time for Zapdos, the electric flying legendary. Let's do it. Comparing Zapdos to Articuno, they have the same special. Zapdos trades defense for speed, which is perfectly fine by me, because critical hits in Generation 1 are determined by your base speed. With a base speed of 100, Zapdos is going to be critting quite a bit. And just like Articuno, Zapdos starts with a pretty awesome move in the form of Drill Peck. Thunder Shock is okay, that'll be good for flying types or whatever. But Drill Peck, same type attack bonus. Effectively, it's a base 120 power move, and we're gonna need that because, well, unlike Articuno, Zapdos is gonna have to take extra battles in order to get by Brock. Now, Brock is a couple levels lower, of course, but Thunder Shock flat out cannot damage his Pokemon. So, not only that, but we're gonna have to deplete our Thunder Shock power points before we get there. That way, in case we run out of Drill Peck, we can go straight into Struggle. The TM selection on Zapdos isn't quite as diverse as Articuno's because it only gets normal, flying, and electric moves, offensively speaking. No Rain Dance in Gen 1, so I'm not that interested in Thunder. I do like TM45 for Thunder Wave, however. I imagine that'll be useful here and there. Now, luckily for us in Pokemon Yellow, there are a couple of extra trainers in Viridian Forest. There's a Last with a couple of Nidorans, and there's a Bugcatcher with a Caterpie and Metapod. Now, we will partake in the optional rival fight, if for no other reason for experience points. Now, Vaporeon would actually be the best for us because it has ice moves, which are super effective against Zapdos, but we're also super effective against it being water type. But since there's no way in Heffel we'll lose the first rival battle, I mean, you're seeing on screen, we're fighting the optional rival now. We're gonna end up with Jolteon. That's alright, I guess. I mean, he'll still have Cloyster and Ninetales. And moves like Thunder and Thunderbolt will deal neutral damage, so it's not as if Jolteon's free. Now, grinding for Brock only takes about 35 minutes. That's actually quicker than I was expecting. That is, of course, assuming we can win right here and now. And, well, things start off pretty interesting, I have to say. We'll go ahead and put Drill Peck on top and attack, and our first Drill Peck misses. Already getting a 1 in 256 chance to miss. Oh, this is gonna go great. Well, that critical Drill Peck makes up for it, so we're gonna get to Onyx with a fair bit of health. As for Onyx, things start off well with a critical Drill Peck, although we do get caught up in Bind. Once we're released, we go for a Drill Peck, obviously, and he goes for Bide, so this could be bad, actually. Maybe I should have saved some Thunder Shocks. 3-turn Bide brings us to 8 health, but hey, we still went. Yeah, you know what I say? No risk, no reward, baby. That was awesome. I showed you the routing on Articuno, and we're going to stay the course for Zapdos, so we're going to go ahead and cut straight on over to Cerulean City. And just like in Articuno's run, the first thing we're going to do is grab the rare candy behind the house, go to the Poke Center, sell what we don't need, deposit any items we don't need, which will be the Helix Fossil in this case. Now, I thought long and hard about who to fight first, and I end up deciding to fight Rival 2 before Misty. Now, that might surprise you because we are super effective against Misty. However, I'd like a little bit more experience points before fighting her, ideally at least an additional level up. Because although we're fast, I think her Starmie at our current level will still outspeed us. Also, after we defeat the trainers on Nugget Bridge and the Rocket, we can get Thunder Wave, so ideally, once we get TM45, maybe we'll backtrack and fight Misty. I figure Thunder Wave can paralyze Starmie, which not only can it lose its turn 1 in 4 chance, but it quarters the speed, so we'll be faster. But to get there first, we have to defeat our rival here at Nugget Bridge at 53 minutes, not too shabby. On that note, we do have to be a bit careful in this fight, because Thunder Shock won't work on Sandshrew, and it has pretty good defense as well. But one Pokemon we don't have to worry about is Spearow. And I'm mostly worried about Sandshrew because it likes using Sand Attack. Thankfully, we don't get one here. Scratch doesn't deal too much damage, and we're able to 2-shot it. Rattata's up next, but that's a 1-shot with Drill Peck. Last up is Eevee, really hoping we don't get hit by Sand Attack. But hey, I'll take that critical hit too, that was sweet. Zapdos is an absolute crit machine in Generation 1. Okay, let's clear the trainers, go fight Misty. She leads off with Staryu. Thunder Shock, unsurprisingly, does 1-shot it. And yeah, I did forget to grab the TM for Thunder Wave, so after this fight, we're just gonna go grab it. And judging by Misty's AI, I'm pretty sure she just threw the fight to get it over with. I mean, maybe she's trying to help Zapdos win the race. So we'll head back up, that wastes about a minute, whatever. Grab Thunder Wave, Rival 3 times Spearow, you know the drill by now. No, that's not a Drill Peck pun, but that probably would have 1-shot too. Rattata slips in a quick attack, but we crit with Drill Peck. Drill Peck nearly 1-shot Sandshrew, but we unfortunately get hit by Sand Attack. Thankfully, we don't miss. Against Eevee, Drill Peck does miss, and we get hit by Growl, lowering our attack. But hey, it's all good. We hit with the next 2 Drill Pecks, and that critical hit second one, you know, just to punctuate that point. Alright, Surge time. We're going to save in front of him. 1 hour, 22 minutes, not bad. Now, I'm pretty sure Raichu's going to be faster, but we have Thunder Wave just for such an occasion. And this fight couldn't start off more perfectly. Surge goes for X speed, he's already faster. We go for Thunder Wave, paralyze Raichu, and gain the speed advantage. Drill Peck number 1, Raichu loses his turn. Drill Peck number 2, he goes for Thunderbolt. Okay damage. And luckily for us, Raichu loses its turn yet again, and we're good. I didn't figure this fight would be too hard with Zapdos, and we get Thunderbolt. Gonna be our best move this entire run. Very excited. And believe it or not, Rock Tunnel wasn't that big of a deal. That dreaded Hiker Dudley, it only took 2 tries. We got a lot of good crit luck there. That was the only real obstacle, and as you can see on screen, we're about to go fight Erica with Drill Peck. Yeah, we're gonna destroy her. Like Articuno, after Brock, we have been sticking to minimum battle, so Zapdos is doing pretty awesome. And hey, check it out, 1 hour, 49 minutes. Go Zapdos! Now, Erica does lead off with Tangela. It has pretty good physical defense, so this might take more than 1 hit, so we're gonna go for Drill Peck. Obviously, we are faster. Well, it's not gonna survive a critical Drill Peck. That's nice. Drill Peck 1-shots Weepin' Bell, no crit there. Out comes Gloom, and we don't 1-shot. Interesting. We take an acid for 13 damage and finish off Gloom. That was more of a fight than I was expecting. As we grab the iron from the game corner before fighting Giovanni, we'll go ahead and clock in our time, and we can compare to Articuno. Articuno is still maintaining a slight lead over Zapdos. That said, catching up pretty quick here. 2 hours, 2 minutes. Articuno was at Silphco by that time. Giovanni might be a bit of a pain here because of his 2 rock types. I mean, case in point, Drill Peck isn't dealing too much to Onyx, but still more than I was expecting. He does miss 1 rock throw, but we both crit each other with Drill Peck and rock throw, but it's low enough to where we can finish it. And as Rhyhorn comes out, you can see just how much more damage we deal. Yeah, guard spec's fine. Use as many of those as you want. We emerge victorious from that battle of wits with 30 health for Persian. It's not looking great. So, Giovanni took my advice and just keeps using guard spec. That's fine. Thunderbolt does great damage. Persian misses Growl, and we finish it with the follow-up. Well, I wasn't expecting to beat that on the first try, but I'll happily take it. And now, before we can advance with the rest of the game, we have to defeat our rival at Lavender Tower. I mean, we're much higher leveled than his Pokemon. We can sweep all of them except for Sandshrew with Thunderbolt. Sandshrew is going to need Drill Peck, but it's so low leveled at this point that even with its high defense, it's not going to withstand more than 1. This fight is usually pretty easy in any Gen 1 or even Gen 3 solo challenge. That's the beauty of sandboxing. You can skip over something you don't want to fight and just come back later and take care of it. Now, who we do want to fight is Koga. And despite being 11 levels lower than the first Venonat, we almost one-shot with Drill Peck. Psychic does very little, no special drop, and the follow-up finishes it off. Next up is Venonat number 2, but unfortunately for it, we one-shot it with a critical hit. For the third, I switched to Thunderbolt just to test out damage. It goes for double edge, not a big deal. Yeah, Drill Peck is definitely the play. The Venomoth 17 levels higher is obviously faster, goes for double team. We go for Thunder Wave, so now we are faster. We can start landing with Drill Peck here, and we do get hit by Toxic, but that's not a big deal because we don't miss and defeat Koga on the first try. Now, how will Zapdos fare against the Silph rival? The Cloyster was a huge sticking point for us as Articuno, but with Zapdos Thunderbolt, I don't think so. That said, the Sand Slash is not going to be a freebie. I believe it still has Sand Attack in this fight, which can be pretty annoying. We don't have a Magneton to fight since he has Jolteon, but he will have Ninetales, which is fairly fast, and I believe it has Confuse Ray in this fight as well. Let's go ahead and check that time. We are at 2 hours, 32 minutes. Oh yeah. But let's not celebrate too much just yet. We do have to get by the Silph rival. He is still going to be tough. We'll go ahead and use Drill Peck against Sand Slash here, and well, that's after a crit. That's not a lot of damage. Thankfully, we're not poisoned off a Poison Sting. Oof, yeah, without that critical hit, Sand Slash could have probably soloed us if it kept going for Slash. Next up is Ninetales. We go for Thunderbolt. It slips in a quick attack, but not a big deal. With 57 health left, we defeated the Ninetales. Out comes Cloyster, and oh man, that was therapeutic, let me tell you. Now, next up is Kadabra. Not worried because, well, I was right. We do outspeed it. Sweet. And one shot with Drill Peck. That's awesome. Out comes Jolteon. It goes for Sand Attack, but thankfully we connect with Thunder Wave, so now we have the speed advantage. So he keeps going for Sand Attack. We're going to switch to Swift and just chip away at him, and oh, really love Sand Attack, do you, Jolteon? Does he really not have any moves that he can hurt us with? I mean, he has Thunder Shock at least, right? Oh well. Now, Giovanni 2 is normally pretty easy, but because our best moves are Electric, and he has 2-part ground types, this is going to warrant a bit of covering. I mean, not Nidorina, we can easily one-shot that with Thunderbolt, and Persian, we do Paralyze off of it. Doesn't deal too much damage to us with Bite, so we can easily 2-shot that. With Rhyhorn coming out next, we're going to have to start laying in with the Drill Peck. And because it worked so well for him in the first fight, he goes for Guard Spec on another turn here. We get hit by Tail Whip, which badge boosts our attack, always nice, but he does hit us with Horn Attack, bringing us to 81 health. We're not exactly in great shape for Nidoqueen. Our badge boosts have been removed since we leveled up. Well, I would say that, but after our Drill Peck, we get hit by Tail Whip, so we get badge boosted again. And Giovanni really loves his Guard Spec. I feel like that should not have been a first try, but I ain't gonna complain about that. It's just Giovanni battling at his finest. Now, given the choice between Sabrina and Blaine, I'm going to go for Blaine. His badge gives us 12.5 extra special, and Thunder Wave can help us gain the speed advantage in this fight. Ninetales Flamethrower does a ton of damage, but it's now paralyzed. Thunderbolt does a little over a third. We get hit by Tail Whip. We go for Thunderbolt, we get hit by another Flamethrower, and then we get hit by Quick Attack. That was pretty smart for Gen 1 AI, and probably an accident. It's all good, though. We can go ahead and try again, and this time Ninetales uses Quick Attack while we use Thunder Wave. And even better, we go for Drill Peck. Ninetales loses its turn to Paralysis. Another Drill Peck. Flamethrower this time. We're at 61 health by the time we take it down. Next up is Rapidash. It's faster for now, goes for Growl. Don't forget, that does not boost our special because Blaine's badge is the one that gives us that. Anyway, after a weak fire spin and losing his turn to paralysis, we make it to Arcanine with 43 health. But unfortunately, he's also faster, goes for Flamethrower, and hits us with a critical hit that wasn't necessary. I battle one extra trainer in Blaine's gym, so hopefully this makes a bit of a difference. You know how turn 1 goes by now. This time we go for Drill Peck and get hit by Confuse Ray. A critical Drill Peck brings Ninetales to just the sliver. We get hit by Tail Whip, and Swift takes it down. Because of that Tail Whip badge boost, we're faster, but going for Thunder Wave anyway. We go for Drill Peck, get caught in Fire Spin, but it breaks because he loses his turn to Paralysis. Before defeating Rapidash, we get hit by a brutal takedown, so we have very little health for Arcanine. Turn 1 paralyzed, good. Thunderbolt loses turn to Paralysis again. Oh my god, are you kidding me? Oh, that's awesome. So that took 5 tries, including when we leveled up off the trainer, but this was the first attempt, and that was awesome. Alright, it's Sabrina time. Abra, one shot with Drill Peck. Kadabra comes out, Sabrina uses X Defend. Drill Peck does quite a bit of damage. Psychic hits us for 52 damage, but it goes down. Last up is Alakazam. It attempts to set up Reflect as we go for Thunder Wave. We go for Drill Peck, deal about a 4th. Alakazam goes for useless Psy Wave. Well, on turn 2, Psy Wave gets a really good damage roll, but on turn number 3, 4, whatever, critical hit Drill Peck bypasses Reflect, or good. Alright, it's Ground Gym time. This one's gonna be fun. Let's go ahead and clock in our time here. We're at... oh, 3 hours, 9 minutes. Yo, we're ahead of Articuno now. Now, unsurprisingly, since we have a flying move that's ineffective against his ace, a Rhydon, and the fact that our Thunderbolt will only work on one of his 5 Pokemon, it's best for us to go ahead and teach Mimic here. Fortunately for us, Giovanni's leading Pokemon, Dugtrio, has a bunch of goodies for us to pick from. Dugtrio has Dig, 100 base power in Gen 1, Earthquake, Sand Attack, and Fissure. Now we're fast, but Dugtrio is faster, really putting that speed advantage to good use with that Earthquake there. I take a moment to consider what to pick, but I'm gonna go for Earthquake and see how that does. I figure with our very high crit rate, we should be able to bulldoze our way through this fight with that move. And check it out, not 1, but 2, 1 in 256 misses. I'm gonna buy a lottery ticket when I'm done with this challenge. And what's really awesome is that Swift can hit Pokemon who are underground in Gen 1. He goes for Guard Spec, and we missed with Thunderbolt. Did I get hit by Sand Attack and I just didn't realize and I've gone insane? I don't think I did. Well, we took out Persian, but with a Screech, not loving that. For Nidoqueen, we go for Earthquake. We get hit by Tail Whip, which does badge boost us, but our defense is really low now. But even without those glitchy boosts, we deal about half to Nidoking with Earthquake. And turns out we have a Speed Tie. That's neat. As Rhydon comes out, we go for Earthquake. Oh, that's pathetic damage. Yikes. The second Earthquake brings him to about a 3rd, and there's Rock Slide. Honestly, probably even if we didn't have defense drops, that would one-shot us, considering our level difference. Okay, changing plans. We're gonna mimic Fissure. Now, Fissure, in case you don't know, is a one-hit KO move that has 30 accuracy. In Generation 1, they flat-out don't work if you're slower than the enemy Pokemon. But luckily for us, the only thing that we're slower than is Dugtrio. And we have a Speed Tie with Nidoking, so that should still work. This time against Persian, things go a lot better. It uses Double Team and Screech, and we do have a defense drop, but we have full health for Nidoqueen. That's awesome. Turn 1, I misclick Thunderbolt on Nidoqueen. Thankfully, he went for Guard Spec. Now, because Nidoqueen will only use Tail Whip, we'll go ahead and use Drill Peck, get some boosts to our attack to take her out, which are going to reset after we level up. So as Nidoking comes out, we're going to go for Fissure. We have to, and we do hit. Very nice. Now, we just need to hit Rhydon. Well, we missed. That's not good. Oh, he goes for Guard Spec. Okay, we got one more chance. Oh, yeah. Oh, man. Mimic. Lifesaver. Love it. This fight would have been awful without it. Well, let's go ahead and battle Rival 6. Let's see if we can maintain our slight lead over Articuno. Our Drill Peck crit Sand Slash. We get hit by Poison Sting. No poison. And despite that potion, we're able to take out Sand Slash using only 6 of our health. Execute is next, but it is, in fact, a one-shot with Drill Peck. I didn't see that one coming. Now, Ninetales could be pretty scary. It's got some pretty solid moves, but, well, it doesn't matter with a critical Thunderbolt. Next up is Cloyster. Time to take it behind the woodshed. Now, as Kadabra comes out for Jolteon, I'm like, let's mimic Psychic. We should survive a hit from Kadabra. Well, he goes for Psybeam, and yeah, even a critical Psybeam doesn't take us out. Can't say the same for him with a critical Drill Peck. So as Jolteon comes out, he goes for Agility, and we go for Psych... Oh, man. Wow. Does he really not? I know he has Thunder in this fight. He should be going for it. Well, our rival must really be worried about losing that speed advantage. Well, that was fun. Rather unexpected, too, because I was expecting him to go for Thunder at least one time. But not going to complain about that, so let's go ahead and mosey our way on up to the league and get Zapdos ready for the Elite Four. Yeah, I feel like a lot of this run went a lot smoother with Zapdos than Articuno, but there is still the Elite Four. And it's pretty wild to think, too, that he had to spend about 35 minutes grinding to get by Brock, but ever since then, it was an undefeated streak all the way to Blaine. Pretty awesome. Man, if Zapdos can pass Articuno, Moltres is really gonna have its work cut out for it, which it already does. But we'll get to that when his run comes around. I'm pretty confident in Zapdos' ability to take out Lorelei, at least. It's gonna be very different from Articuno because we have same type Thunderbolt. Let's see just how good our damage is. Leading off with Dewgong is fine, I guess. We're gonna go for Thunderbolt. Nice, clean one-shot. Love it. And if we one-shot Dewgong, we're going to one-shot Cloyster. Oh man, talk about catharsis. And just like in the Articuno fight, we're going to mimic Amnesia, power up to our maximum. Slowbro can't do anything to us. Even a critical Surf wouldn't have meant Diddly Squat. And with a move like Thunderbolt, obviously Slowbro goes down. Jinx doesn't take super effective damage, but with all of our special boosts, yeah, she's down. And Lapras, get out of here, kid. You got no future. As for Bruno, the two Onix with Rock Slide could be dangerous, but the fighting types, not worried about them. So, as we lead off, we are going to mimic Dig, base 100 power in Generation 1. Bruno uses X-Defend, pretty smart. We go for Dig, we hit with Dig, and we get hit by Rock Slide for a good bit of damage. But unfortunately for Bruno, he doesn't feel like winning, even though he could with Rock Slide. He keeps going for Screech. One of them does hit, and that does boost our damage just enough to take him out. As we level up, we'll go ahead and get rid of Swift. It was very useful from the moment we got it. We go for Thunderbolt against Hitmonchan, and did you see that? Mimic Reset. I didn't know it did that. Anyway, Hitmonlee one-shot. Yeah, here's where I'm going for Dig. I'm like, wait, what? I guess I'll take Earthquake. We do get crit by Simon. You see me pause for a sec. I was like, oh, that's neat. Well, time to boost up with Agility. Now, watch this. He could go for Rock Slide anytime he wants. Bruno doesn't have quote-unquote smart AI, so he just attacks randomly. Because we ran out of power points on Mimic because of that weird glitch, it took so many Drill Pecks to take down Onix. He does hit us with Slam. Rock Slide would have probably taken us out. And obviously, Machamp is no trouble at all. Now, as for Agatha, we're going to use the exact same strategy we used on Articuno. We're going to Mimic Substitute. That way we can block off stuff like Supersonic and Confuse Ray. Fortunately for Zapdos, he has Drill Peck, and that's going to be really awesome against the Ghost because they have pretty good special. And hey, would you look at that? We go for Mimic, we're actually faster. Love to see that. The enemy Gengar sets up a substitute as well. No big deal. We're going to go ahead and use Agility. Confuse Rate, we block it. Also, that Agility ensures that we're faster than the final Gengar. Anyway, after setting up a bunch of substitutes and us breaking them, due to our speed advantage, we're able to take out Gengar before it can set up another one. Golbat's next, but that's an easy one-shot with Thunderbolt. After Golbat comes out Haunter, so we'll go ahead and switch to Drill Peck. It'll deal a lot more damage, and nice, one-shot. Now, as Arbok comes out, I go ahead and go for another Agility. Good thing, too, because Glare somehow hit us through a substitute. Hey, it's Gen 1, man. Are you surprised? And the second Gengar, well, things are kind of bad because we lose a turn to Paralysis and our substitute is destroyed, but Drill Peck, two of them, takes it out. I kind of like how Articuno and Zapdos both got paralyzed in this fight. As for Lance, well, Gyarados isn't going to be an issue because we have Thunderbolt and we're super strong with it. The Pokemon I'm actually really worried about is the first Dragonair. It knows Thunder Wave, Thunderbolt, don't love it, not a good time. We'll be slower if we get hit with Thunder Wave. So we start our battle. Gyarados, this might shock you, one shot with Thunderbolt. Out comes the second Dragonair. I go for Agility, anticipating Thunder Wave, but it goes for a Hyper Beam, deals very little damage too. Drill Peck, on the other hand, deals amazing damage. And with the second Dragonair out, we can mimic Ice Beam. Hope to heck we don't get frozen. Thankfully, we do not. We can one-shot Dragonair with Ice Beam. We're faster than Aerodactyl because of Agility, so that's getting one-shot too. And the fearsome Dragonite goes down to one Ice Beam. All in all, I'm going to say the Elite Four is a little bit easier with Zapdos here in yellow. And the Articuno was great too. Lorelei was a bit of a struggle, but after that, we had no problems defeating the rest of the fighters. Having to mimic Ice Beam is always a little bit scary because there's always that 10% chance you can get frozen. And don't forget, in Generation 1, if you get frozen, that's it in an itemless run because you will never defrost. But the champion Sandslash, unlike with Articuno, is no joke as Zapdos. We don't have a good answer for it, and we're gonna have to set up on it and steal Earthquake. And because we're faster, we get to do so right at the start of combat. Sandslash goes for Slash, that's gonna crit pretty much every time. Go for Agility, he goes for Slash again. Well, might as well test Earthquake's damage, only half with a crit. I don't know if that's more or less with the boosts. Anyway, yeah, we lose really fast. Well, that was fun. Excuse me while I run through the Elite Four and get back on our very next attempt. We go for Agility, no poison from Poison Sting. I go for Earthquake, yeah, we're gonna go for Drill Peck here. Once again, no poison, and gotta say, really happy with that luck because poison would be awful to deal with. Alakazam's up, goes down to a single Drill Peck. Next up is Executor, not a one-shot, but it only goes for Barrage. Surprisingly, it likes to go for Hypnosis on turn 1. A second Drill Peck finishes it off, out comes Cloyster, one shot with Thunderbolt. The champion will send out Ninetales next, and this is what we have Earthquake for. Doesn't quite one-shot, unfortunately, and we get punished pretty hard by Confuse Ray. Now, I go for Agility because I don't want to go into the Jolteon fight confused. Snap out of Confusion, Drill Peck finishes Ninetales. Last up is Jolteon. It slips in a quick attack for a little bit of damage. We go for Earthquake, and one shot? Oh yeah, wow. Zapdos beat the Elite Four Gauntlet on the second try. That's amazing. Wow, Zapdos was awesome. It didn't even take that long to get by Brock, and after that, like I said before, just straight Juggernaut charge to the end of the game. As for Zapdos' results, we're going to subtract 1 from the final level because we leveled up off of Jolteon, so level 58. So it's 1 level lower than Articuno, but what about the time? I know that's going to be close. 3 hours and 51 minutes. Alright, awesome. Moltres time, let's go. So, as a kid, Moltres was actually my favorite legendary, and to date it still is, so I am very excited for this part of the run, despite a setback we'll get to here in just a sec. But as a kid, Moltres was like top 5 favorite Pokemon for me. I loved its design. Fire was my favorite type as a kid. Nowadays, it's Poison. But I am still very much a big fan of Fire type. Anyway, taking a look at Moltres' base stats, they look fine, really. Actually, offensively speaking, Moltres is the strongest of the 3. 125 special, just like Zapdos and Articuno, and 100 base attack is pretty sweet. And with 90 base speed, it is slightly faster than Articuno. We'll take a look at the TMs. Just like Zapdos, its offensive moves it can get are normal, flying, and of its type, fire in this case. We get Fire Blast from Blaine, that's going to be really nice. By far the best move we'll have access to this run. So what did I mean by come what may? That old little sense of foreboding. That would be this level up moveset right here. Articuno started with Ice Beam. Zapdos started with Drill Peck. Moltres gets Peck, a very basic flying move, and Fire Spin. Now, Fire Spin lasts from 2 to 5 turns, and like with Clamp and Bind, it stun locks, and Moltres will get the same type attack bonus from it. But unlike the aforementioned moves, Fire Spin only has 70 accuracy, as if Game Freak didn't hate fire types enough in Generation 1. Oh, and we get Leer instead of, like, any actual useful move at 51 because of a programming error. Yeah, I'm sorry, on the credits screen there's a whole list of playtesters, and to this day, even as a kid I thought this, I was like, wow, so they gave the legendary Firebird Leer at 51, and nobody saw this? Was playtesting them just turning on the Game Boy or something? Like, have these people never seen a video game before and not know why that's bad? Oh, Moltres, my man, you're gonna be much better in Generation 2 forward. Now, that said, you might think that with these 2 terrible moves that we're gonna have for quite a while, that Brock would be difficult. And he certainly has the potential to be. It's a really good thing that neither of his rock Pokemon have. But hey, at 26 minutes before Brock, we're actually ahead of Zapdos by a few minutes. Now, the strategy for Brock, if you want to call it that, is Fire Spin and hope for the best. Now, one thing that is cool about Fire Spin and other moves like it here in Generation 1 is that if the first hit crits, all of them, whether it's the second, third, fourth, or final 5th hit, they all crit. Now, we did miss a Fire Spin, but because Moltres has exceptional stats, and especially this early on, that tackle didn't do much of anything. Our opening Fire Spin on Onix does crit, so got some damage coming in. Well, Fire Spin, despite what I said before, does an amazing job in this fight to the point where Onix just never hits us. Now, that fight went about as smooth as you could hope for, but another problem with Fire Spin, like, even if it had the same accuracy as Clamp or Wrap, The problem with this move is that it's slow because it takes multiple turns, and of course you gotta redo it again if you miss. The in-game time really starts to add up, but thankfully Moltres is powerful enough to where there's not much that can stand in his way. I mean, besides Misty in the early game, there's not really much that's gonna give us trouble. Speaking of Misty, however, no way are we going to fight her right now. We're gonna put her off for as long as we possibly can. As for the rival, feeling pretty confident about it because we should underline, outspeed everything on this team. And even if we don't outspeed everything, we'll be faster than Sandshrew, so no sand attack, I hope. Now, against our rival Spearow, we'll go for Peck, and good damage thanks to a crit. He hits us back, not much damage, and we're able to finish him with the follow-up. As Sandshrew comes out, we don't miss Fire Spin, and we trap it for 1, 2 hits, miss, there's sand attack. Thanks, game, that is the opposite of what I asked for. As Rattata comes out, we deal great damage with Peck. Now watch this. We miss a hilarious amount of times with Peck to the point where Rattata beats us up pretty good. I mean, we still knock it out, but we're down to 21 health just from all those misses. That was from a single sand attack. Despite that, though, Fire Spin comes in super handy at the very end there. Wasn't expecting that with our accuracy drop. We are going straight to the SS Ant to battle our rival, and Peck does pretty awesome damage to Spearow. Spearow uses Fury Attack, hits us 3 times, bringing us to 66. Peck takes him down, out comes Rattata. We go for Peck, and turns out that it crits. Very nice one-shot. Next up is going to be Sandshrew, and we gotta hope to heck that Fire Spin doesn't miss. Come on, come on. Oh, excellent, good. Still doing pretty good damage, too. Even though it only lasts for 2 turns, Peck can finish it off. And as Eevee comes out, gonna go ahead and try my hand at Fire Spin slots again, and we hit. Very good. This one lasts for 3 turns. I might go for Peck, and we deal just enough damage to take out Eevee. As awesome as that victory was, we have to get by Misty. Right now, we're at 1 hour, 27 minutes. Moltres gotta catch up, man. Now, hopefully we'll be faster than Starmie. Staryu, we're at level 25, so of course we're gonna outspeed it. We go for Fire Spin, it misses, she goes for X Defend. And hey, I will take a critical Fire Spin all day. I actually meant to go for Peck on the follow-up, little misclick there. Thankfully I didn't get punished for it. And we are faster than Starmie, that is excellent. So we keep Starmie locked into Fire Spin for about 1/3 of its health, but we miss here, and you see just how hard we get punished by Bubble Beam. And after a couple more Fire Spin misses, we go down. Well, I think you know the strat here, because even though Peck won't be resisted, Fire Spin's gonna do more damage if it lasts for longer than 2 turns. Plus, if we get a critical hit, fairly likely because Moltres has very good base speed. It's just the better move to go for. This does make doing blow by blow a little bit more difficult because, the Fire Spin is a bit repetitive. I do switch to Peck this time and take out Staryu. Now, as lame as Fire Spin is as our starting move, you're going to see on full display here just how cheap this move can be. So, while I don't prefer using stuff like Fire Spin because it's unreliable, between the 2 to 5 turns, the 1 to 3 chance to miss, I mean, check it out. We missed once against Starmie and we're able to whittle it down. Yeah, you can bet that added literal minutes onto Moltres' in-game time. Now, Lieutenant Surge here, we're faster, so this really isn't going to be a problem. So we'll go ahead and go for Fire Spin again. We connect, very good, and Lieutenant Surge uses X Speed. Oh, that might actually hurt. Well, our next turn Fire Spin ends. Raichu goes for Thunderbolt, does quite a bit of damage. Not only that, but we are paralyzed off of it. Fortunately, Moltres powers through the paralysis and connects with Peck, taking out Raichu. Well, all 3 birds have first tried Brock and Lieutenant Surge. That's pretty cool. Alright, here in Celadon City, we're going to save in front of Erica. 2 hours, 10 minutes. Moltres isn't lagging behind too much. Now, as a fire-flying Pokemon, we are the perfect Pokemon to fight Erica, even with weak Fire Spin. I mean, Tangle is slower. We're dealing pretty good damage with Fire Spin, all things considered. Erica does slip in a Super Potion while we're beating down Tangela with Fire Spin, and Peck doesn't finish it off. We get hit by Constrict, get a Speed Drop, which will actually badge boost our physical attack. Despite the Speed Drop, we're still faster than Weepinbell. We get a 2-turn Fire Spin, very good, and Peck finishes it off. Last and certainly least is Gloom. We trap it in Fire Spin. Goes for 2 turns, no problem. We can go ahead and reapply it. 1, 2, 3, bye-bye Gloom. Man, even for an easy fight, that took a minute. Now, as Giovanni comes out, it's imperative that we keep Onix locked into Fire Spin, because Rock Throw will deal 4 times damage to us, although, despite that, we don't take all that much damage from Onix. I'm so glad Rock Throw sucks in this game. And as Rhyhorn comes out, we miss not one, but a pair of Fire Spins and eat 2 Horn attacks in the process. Well, thankfully we get those Fire Spin misses out of our system and are able to stun-lock Rhyhorn into submission. Persian's next, and we're faster. That surprises me. 2-turn Fire Spin, we get hit by Screech. It turns out that we have a speed tie. Payday crit hits hard, but our Fire Spin crits hit harder. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. What about Rock Tunnel? Was the Hiker hard? Yeah, Hiker Dudley was really annoying to get by. That took many tries, and I'm sure that doesn't surprise you to hear, but something else happened. You're not ready for it, trust me, but let's get through Rival 4 first. Now, I didn't heal in this fight. I just went straight for the Rival, so no Fire Spin this time. Peck does okay damage to Fearow, but we get punished with a critical 3-turn Fury attack. We trade Peck and Leer, the follow-up Peck takes out Fearow. Next up is Shelter, and I'm thinking about what to go for. I decide to go for Swift, almost one-shot it with a crit. Clamp doesn't deal that much damage to us. 3 turns ain't no thing. Woolpeck slips in a quick attack, but we one-shot it with Swift. Out comes Sandshrew, we trade Swift and Slash, no crit. The follow-up Swift takes it down. Against Eevee, we trade Swift and Tail Whip, no problem, we win. So, Hiker Dudley, I didn't bother including him. But against Jesse and James here, now, this is a pretty easy fight. They have Arbok wheezing for the first time here. And they never evolve their Meowth. They're pretty much there just to get beat up, although these guys do take away the 3 Rockets who are here, so we get a little bit less XP here in Lavender Tower. Fire Spin misses, we get hit by Glare. Then we get Leered, flinched off of Bite, Leered again. And we do get a 4-turn Fire Spin. Would have been 5, but we lose our turn to Paralysis. Arbok hits with Bite, flinches us again too. Leer, we're paralyzed. Swift does take out Arbok, but we have 63 health left for Wheezing. So we get Smog, lose our turn. Sludge brings us to 1. We miss Fire Spin. Yeah, we lost to Jesse and James in Lavender Tower. I have never in my life lost this fight. Casually, first time I played Yellow, whatever. If you ever want a poster child, or I guess like a poster video, whatever, of just how worthless Fire Spin strats are, just watch this fight, the first fight, and yeah, there you go, on full display, just terrible. Now on our second try here, Moltres absolutely bulldozes Jesse and James, probably thinking, okay, he's not going to show the failed attempt, right? No, sorry buddy, no. I gotta show it. That's why I didn't show the Hiker. This is worse. 3 hours, 21 minutes in front of Koga. Yeah, Articuno and Zapdos were way ahead at this point. But hey, maybe we can sub 5 hours? Well, Koga starts off pretty strong. We hit with Fire Spin, we crit, allowing us to 2-shot the first Venonat. And then we miss and get hit by Toxic. Well, that didn't last long. Moltres in Generation 1 is the perfect example of a Pokemon with great stats, but is held back by such awful moves. And the thing is, too, about Koga is that once we defeat him, we can use Surf outside of battle, so it would be best for us to be able to go get Fire Blast as soon as possible. With Fire Blast, Moltres will surely speed along. I believe in Generation 1, it's 120 base power, 85 accuracy, and Moltres gets the same type attack bonus from it. Yeah, that's gonna help out quite a bit. But we have to defeat Koga first before that can happen. Now, worst case scenario, if Fire Spin luck is abysmally bad in this fight, Peck will deal super effective damage, and with our 100 base attack, it should deal okay damage. That said, we do still have to rely on Fire Spin. Thankfully, on this attempt, we get by Venonat 1 with no issues. For Venonat 2, we go for Fire Spin, he goes for X Attack. And Fire Spin ends up lasting for 3 turns. We'll switch to Swift and take it out. As Venonat 3 comes out, we are faster, and Fire Spin is, wow, lasted the entire time. Very good. Venomoth comes out and drops our special with Psychic, but Fire Spin does connect. Venomoth goes for Double Team, and we do hit. It doesn't last for very long, but as he keeps on building Double Teams, we're going to change over to Swift. Venomoth does hit us with Toxic, but it's too little, too late. Despite my aggravations towards Fire Spin, Moltres did do better against Koga than Articuno. Well, now that we have access to Surf, I say we head straight for Cinnabar and battle Blaine. Once we get our hands on Fire Blast, Moltres, it's not going to make up for lost time. It'll make up for some lost time, not all of it, but hopefully enough. Sub 5 hours, let's go! Leading off with Ninetales, we're going to go for Swift. A crit did pretty good damage. He goes for Tail Whip, which lowers our defense, but boosts our attack. And things are looking pretty good against Ninetales here until we get slapped by Confuse, where I hit with Quick Attack and hit ourselves. We hit ourselves again, get hit by Flamethrower. We snap out of confusion and finish it with Swift. Out comes Rapidash, and Fire Spin does connect, which is pretty good, although we're not dealing a lot of damage. And I'm just going to get this out of the way because I know somebody's going to ask. Yeah, I should have taught Toxic here. And at this point, I did these runs back to back to back. So after the whole frustration with Fire Spin, my brain was pretty much on autopilot. Toxic Fire Spin would have been really good for this fight. But because I was so frustrated with Fire Spin at that point, I just fired up some YouTube videos that I like, listened to them while I was grinding out attempts. Despite that, though, we do make it pretty far getting to Arcanine, but again, with Toxic Fire Spin, yeah, we would have won. Of course, at the time, that's not registering to me, and after this here, I'm like, you know what? That's as far as we got against Arcanine, so I gave up and went on over to Saffron to try and fight Rival 5, which I think will go alright. But yeah, it's one of those instances where I was like, I probably should have waited a day or two on Moltres, but I loved doing all three of these runs, despite my frustrations with this part of it. Yeah, my mind was very fried. Very bad performance by me right there. Now, things started off great here. We do hit with Fire Spin the first time, but the second one is a critical hit, ensuring we get by Sand Slash. Out comes Ninetales, we trade Swift and Tail Whip. Swift, Roar, the latter does nothing in trainer battles in Gen 1. Out comes Cloyster, we do hit with Fire Spin. You'll see it not very effective. That's a glitch because of the way Gen 1 works. Cloyster is water and ice, so we are dealing neutral damage. Next up is Kadabra. We go for Swift, and that is a one-shot. Very good. Last up is Jolteon. Faster, goes for Thunder Shock, and of course we get paralyzed, but our Fire Spin does crit. Things are getting pretty heated here with our trading of Fire Spin and Thunder Shock, and gotta say, we got a lot of critical hits in this fight. We really needed those crits after how hard some of these fights have been. We'll go back to the bed, heal up, come back. Moltres gets some very sweet revenge on Jesse and James. Making our way over to Giovanni, leading off with Nidorino as usual. You know the drill by now, Fire Spin, it hits, thankfully. It doesn't last for very long. He goes for a Guard Spec, we miss Fire Spin, he goes for Fury Attack. 4 hits. We go for Swift. Ooh, a critical hit. Awesome. We hit level 44. Out comes Persian. We go for Swift. It hits us with Bite. A second Swift will finish it off. Rhyhorn's next. Gotta go for Fire Spin. Second hit. Guard Spec. 3 hits. Oh, cool. Okay. Not a problem to restart that again. Really lucked out with that crit. Nidoqueen's out. We go for Swift. She goes for Tail Whip. Swift. Guard Spec. Swift. Okay. Well, doesn't she have Body Slam? I mean, she could have definitely wrecked us. Time for our rematch with Blaine. Fire Spin does connect, and it lasts for 4 turns, not bad. We trade Swift and Tail Whip. We go for Swift, we get hit by Confuse Ray. We hit ourselves, another Confuse Ray, and we finish it off. Very good. We hit ourselves, Rapidash misses with Fire Spin, but we do not miss. And you know what's really funny? It's right around here, with all the stun locking we're doing with Fire Spin. It clicks in my head, and I'm like, oh my god, I should have taught Toxic. This would have been gone by now. But since we're doing so good in this fight right now, I decided to stick it out just in case. For Arcanine, Fire Spin misses, it goes for Reflect. Our follow-up Fire Spin does connect. Oh, man, we trapped Arcanine with pretty good Fire Spin luck, I have to say. It just, man, I'm so frustrated watching this because I'm like, what? I'm like, why did I think of Toxic? Yeah, I was brain fried, but I thought of it when I was going through here, you know, too little too late, right? To the point where we ran out of Fire Spin and have to use Swift. Thankfully, Arcanine went for Flamethrower and not Takedown. And now that we have Fire Blast, we're gonna go back to Saffron and fight Sabrina. As we make our way to Sabrina, I'm really starting to think about how much time has added up, especially after that Blaine fight. Hey, check this out. 4 hours and 8 minutes. I mean, that 5-hour sub is still within our grasp, but we really gotta pick up the pace. And as the fight starts off, it starts off pretty good, actually. We outspeed Abra and one-shot it with Swift. Awesome start. Out comes Kadabra, we deal over half with Swift, and it goes for Psywave. As Alakazam comes out, she immediately goes for X-Defend, causing Swift to deal less damage. Alakazam goes for Recover, we go for Fire Blast. She goes for Psywave, gets a pretty good roll on it, but we don't miss Fire Blast and take out Alakazam. Oh my god, a quick Moltres fight, I'm so happy. Speaking of fast fights, we're gonna mimic Fissure off of Dugtrio. Dugtrio ends up going for Dig. With Swift, we hit it underground as if it would hurt us anyway. I'm just glad we didn't see Sand Attack. As Persian comes out, I misclick Swift, get hit by Slash, but Fire Blast doesn't miss. Out comes Nidoqueen. Fire Blast does really good damage. She goes for Thunder and hits. No paralysis, thankfully. Well, she missed that second Thunder with us going for Swift. We go for Fissure against Nidoking, goes for Guard Spec. The next Fissure will hit. Last up is Rhydon. We go for Fissure. We miss. Giovanni goes for Guard Spec, so we have one more opportunity. We miss. Rock Slide hits. You get nothing, Moltres. Good day, sir. Yeah, remember how we got by this fight pretty quickly with Zapdos once we mimicked Fissure? Yeah, well, we run into a litany of problems here, and I'm going to spare you those and tell you that this took about 6 attempts. And you'll see here in a moment that, much to my chagrin, Swift is not always a two-shot on Dugtrio. As Persian comes out, I don't misclick. Fury Swipes is whatever. Fire Blast one-shots. As Nidoqueen comes out, we go for Fissure, miss, Guard Spec. There's our hit. Well, I'm so glad that Giovanni loves Guard Specs because that went the exact same way. Now, we cannot miss Rhydon. Please don't miss. Oh, thank the gods. Against Rival 6, we go for Fire Blast. Sand Slash is a one-shot. Out comes Execute. We go for Fire Blast. We don't miss. Very good. As Ninetales comes out, we miss Fire Blast, but it goes for Roar. And the same thing happens again. After that Fire Blast and another Roar, I switch to Swift. Ooh, critical hit. Very good. Out comes Cloyster, one-shot with Fire Blast. Out comes Kadabra, we're faster, and it gets one-shot by a critical Fire Blast. Jolteon goes for Thunder Wave, we hit with Fire Blast. We go for Swift, thankfully he misses Thunder, and he goes for a Potion, allowing us to secure victory with a follow-up Swift. Thankfully we didn't lose our turn. Thunder, don't think it would have one-shot us, would have been pretty close though. Okay, let's get ready for the Elite Four. We've done our preparations, got our full restores, all that good stuff. We are clocking in at 4 hours, 45 minutes. I believe in you, Moltres, buddy. Sub 5 hours, let's go. Now, Lorelei really could go either way because Fire Blast is pretty good against most of her team, but all of her moves are good against us. So we're going to go for Fire Blast pretty much straight away, and we deal really awesome damage to Dugong. Lorelei responds with a Super Potion. Perfect. Follow-up Fire Blast takes it down. Next up is Cloyster, but we know from our rival that that will be a one-shot with Fire Blast. And just like the Bird Bros before it, we're gonna mimic Amnesia off of Slowbro. As we do that, Slowbro sets up Withdraw. Perfect. Amnesia 1, Withdraw. Amnesia 2, Withdraw. Very good. On our third Amnesia, Slowbro goes for Surf. And of course it crits. Despite that, though, we should be fine. Well, thanks to that crit, we don't one-shot, but it goes for Withdraw again. Love me some Gen 1 AI. Now, next up is Jinx. It's pretty fast, it's pretty strong, but it's also frail, especially with a full Amnesia Fire Blast. Next is Lapras. We go for Fire Blast. It doesn't miss. Awesome. Well, Lorelei went a lot better than I expected. Very glad to see that, and I don't think Bruno's going to be a problem. Yeah, the Onyx are double super effective with Rock Slide, but we have Fire Blast. We'll be fine. And let me tell you, I have never been happier to delete a move that once I got Fire Blast, I was like, yeah, Fire Spin can take a hike. I might have needed to keep that for Lance, but I guess we'll find out. We gotta beat Bruno first. He sends out his trusty Onyx. We go for Fire Blast despite him resisting it. Yes, terrible special. Easy one-shot. Hitmonchan comes out next, but it can't withstand Fire Blast. And hitting level 60 is pretty cool, and as much as I would love to give Moltres Sky Attack, it would be awesome with it. We don't need it. Out comes Hitmonlee, we go for Fire Blast. That critical hit was completely unnecessary. Maybe Moltres is just frustrated at its own run. I mean, considering Jesse and James and losing to Jesse and James as a legendary, yeah, I'd be a little upset too. But yeah, Bruno, easy peasy, no problems. We had awesome Fire Blast luck in that fight. And against Lorelei as well. I don't think we missed Fire Blast in either fight. After some of the pain that Fire Spin put me through, I feel like that's a hug from the game being like, it's gonna be okay, Roz. It's gonna be okay. Your favorite legendary bird is gonna be much better in Gen 2 going forward. Although nowadays, it's kind of a tie between all three. Alright, I'm sidetracking. Anyway, Agatha time. You know the drill by now. We are going to mimic Substitute because it's amazing for this fight. Gengar goes for Lick. Thankfully, we're not paralyzed. Now, we are extra safe setting up agilities behind this Substitute, not only because we'll block Confuse Ray, which is really great. Gengar has Mega Drain and goes for it, but I mean, we quad resist Grass and it doesn't get same type from it, so I think we're gonna be okay. Now, what's unfortunate is when Gengar sets up Substitute, it does soak up a Fire Blast from us. Thankfully, once we have it exposed, we can go for Fire Blast and finish it off. And I figure as Golbat comes up, we'll go ahead and switch to Swift to conserve power points. Does good damage. Supersonic can't affect us. Go for Swift again. Toxic is blocked. We finish off Golbat. Haunter comes out, and, well, if we did that much damage to Gengar, yeah, that critical hit, unnecessary, but always feels good. Another critical Fire Blast on Arbok. As for the last Gengar, we are fast to go for Fire Blast. It doesn't finish it, but we get a burn. Oh, man, that's awesome. Now, as we get ready for Lance, we're going to do a little bit of extra preparing here. Of course, we're going to heal to full, restore our power points to Fire Blast, all that good stuff. And we're going to use some rare candies. We're going to save one for after Lance, but we're going to power up to level 60, for we're going to need as much firepower as we can possibly get to take on his Gyarados. The rest of his team's no walk in the park either for a fire type. In yellow, his team is infinitely better than it is in red and blue. Heck, I'd go as far as to say that Lance's Gyarados in Generation 1 is actually way better than the one we fight in Fire Red. I mean, the thing has, like, Twister and stuff. And in the postgame, he has Thunder Wave, so if you have Safeguard, you can have some real fun with that one. Well, let's go ahead and get this battle underway. We're gonna go for Fire Blast and miss. We get hit by Hydro Pump. On our second turn, we hit with Fire Blast and Gyarados misses. We slip in an Agility, and he misses again. We go for Fire Blast, we miss, and he misses with Hydro. Oh my gosh. Well, as we hit, Lance will respond in kind with a Hyper Potion, but we get hit by another Hydro Pump. Fire Blast with the boost does a lot more damage, but yeah, we're done. That is really unfortunate, but it turns out that Moltres is pretty good against the first three members of the Elite Four, including Lorelei, in which he has a significant disadvantage against. I mean, mimicking Amnesia off of Slowbro is always going to be a gamble if you're weak to water moves, but it's a risk you just have to take because mimicking Amnesia is just so good. It completely changes the dynamic of a fight. With Amnesia giving us +2 to special every turn at +6 with Fire Blast, even Lorelei's team who resist us, that's Slowbro namely, isn't really a problem. Bruno is absolutely nothing, not worth our time at all, a total one-shot sweep. And Agatha is pretty easy, because her Gengar has Substitute and really bad moves, honestly. I think the only move that's really worth anything in its weight in gold is Confuse Ray. But if she doesn't go for it on turn 1, you can just block it with Substitute, and you're fine. You can set up behind it, or do whatever you gotta do. But after you do your setting up, or if you're just Moltres and have a really strong fire move that you get same type from, you can just bulldoze the team. And of course, having Swift on hand to deal with Golbat and Arbok to save power points is optimal. It's just when you get to Lance, that Gyarados is just such a danger to any fire type, even something as powerful as Moltres. And if we do get past Gyarados, we have to deal with a Dragonair who has Thunderbolt, and although it's not very good with it, it'd certainly be enough to take us out unless Gyarados misses a lot. And then the Dragonair after that has Ice Beam, which can freeze you and is super effective against Moltres in Generation 1. Aerodactyl resists Fire Blast and is very fast, and Dragonite has Blizzard and Thunder. So against Gyarados, we do what we normally do. Go for Fire Blast. It hits us with Hydro Pump. Our next Fire Blast crits, though. That's cool. Next up is the Thunder Wave Dragonite, and we crit with Fire Blast. We do need that critical hit. Ice Beam Dragonite, gonna mimic Ice Beam. Hope we don't get crit or frozen. Ah, Bubble Beam. That's surprising. No Speed Drop. We one-shot Dragonair with Ice Beam. Aerodactyl's also a one-shot. Last up is Dragonite, but it's double weak to Ice, so yeah, get out of here. It took me 25 tries to beat Lance. Out of those 25 runs through the Elite Four, I lost to Lorelei 3 times from bad luck, never to Bruno, never to Agatha. Lance, though, whew, you need that exact kind of luck to win at this level with Moltres. Okay, so before we fight the champion, gonna heal up, use our elixir to restore our power points, check out our stats, almost 200 special, very good. You see me pause for just a sec. I'm considering saving after Lance, but I'm like, nah, Zapdos and Articuno, no saved. Moltres can do it too. I believe in you, buddy. Sub 5 hours. Well, you guys know the drill with the champion by now 3 times in this video. Leading off with Sandslash, we are going to mimic Earthquake. Thankfully, we cannot get hit by it. Sandslash goes for Fury Swipes and misses. Agility 1, he goes for Fury Swipes. He does crit. 3 hits, not too bad. We go for another Agility. We get crit by Slash. One more Agility, Fury Swipes miss. Yo, let's go. Fire Blast, awesome animation. For Alakazam, we'll switch over to Earthquake, and turns out that was the right call. As Executor comes out, we miss Fire Blast, but it misses Hypnosis. Alright, we're good. Next up is Cloyster. Very nervous about this when we go for Fire Blast, miss, and it misses Clamp. Oh my god, this was stressing me out so much. Good one-shot there. Out comes Ninetales to go for Earthquake. That's a one-shot. Last is Jolteon. We outspeed. Go for Earthquake. Boom. We got him. Oh, Moltres, I love you, man, but this was a rough run for you. Yeah, gonna say, I didn't feel too bad about getting rid of Fire Spin because I was considering Toxic Fire Spin for Lance's Gyarados, but after how hard it was to get by him, it would be even more luck dependent, so I was like, you know, might as well keep trying with Fire Blast. We do get crits a fair bit of the time. Moltres ends at level 65, higher level than Articuno and Zapdos, but the same level as our rival's Ace. And our time is 5 hours and 2 minutes, so yeah, Toxic Fire Spin on Blaine would have made that sub 5 hours. Oh, man. Well, I really hope you guys enjoyed that 3-in-1 run there. I mean, I know I didn't play very well in the Moltres run in particular, but that's because I did these runs back to back to back. Shouldn't have done it, but I still had a good time. And I hope that you guys did as well. Our next invasive species run, Fire Red with Zigzagoon, will be up on Monday at 1:30 Central Standard Time as usual. And likewise, our run through Ruby will be up on Friday, same time. And I've got a really fun run in mind in between those two episodes that I think you guys are going to really enjoy. Thanks again for watching, guys. Take care.